Everybody ready? Ready?
Yeah.
All right, listen.
It's your weekend show.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
With Bob Biermann.
It's great.
And welcome once again to your weekend show. I'm your host, Bob Biermann. I'm so glad that you have joined us again as we start a whole new month. Here we are. It is the month of September. If you are a first-time listener to your weekend show and wondering what it's all about, let me kind of explain it in a real quick nutshell. Your weekend show is about life, the things we all go through each and every week and throughout our lives. There are times that we go down memory lane and remember things from our past and how life used to be. We look and comment on the changes that are happening so fast in our culture. And oftentimes we talk about those things that are just on our hearts and our minds, the things that trouble us, the things that make us happy, the things that give us courage to go through each and every day. To find out more about the show and how you can listen in other ways, go to our website, yourweekendshow.com. That's yourweekendshow.com. Or find us on Facebook, Your Weekend Show. And I keep forgetting to mention we're also on Twitter. If you happen to be a Twitter follower, you can find us there as well. Your Weekend Show, all one word. And I would hope that you would visit the website maybe sometime over the weekend. I'm amazed at where people hear this show, especially via international shortwave. Had a letter the other day from Finland. We've had some from Israel, Pakistan, all over. Of course, Canada, the United States, Australia, and too many countries and places that I just really can't remember off the top of my head right now. But the show is growing, and some of the responses that I get just warm my heart. So I'm glad that I have this time to give you this labor of love, which is really what it is. I've been in the broadcast industry for well over 40 years. And back in the 1980s, when working for a manufacturer of broadcast equipment, I was really turned on to the concept of shortwave because the company I worked for were building these high-powered units to go around the world. And I started listening, and I was amazed to hear things from other countries and cultures, and I enjoy to this day. And to be on a facility like WRMI, and we're on 3 different frequencies, 4 times each weekend, it means a lot to me to realize that my voice right now, the signal leaves Okeechobee, Florida, and is heard in Canada, into Europe, into Asia, and of course via the internet it goes even farther. So you can imagine how humbled I am when you take the time to drop me a note and let me know you listened. Once again, the website is yourweekendshow.com, yourweekendshow.com. Well, I started out this week making a bit of a mistake. I posted what I thought would be a humorous picture on my personal Facebook page. And you can see my personal Facebook page as a link from your weekend show page to get there if you'd like to see it. I invite you to look. Nothing to hide there. And I had a friend of mine who had a 2-word reply to and comment to the picture I posted. And the 2 words were, not funny. Well, I felt bad initially, and then I sent him a private note and explained my motive, and he changed his mind. Let me tell you what the picture was. On Monday, I ran across this picture and just forwarded on Facebook like a lot of people do. The picture is taken in someone's backyard, and there is a very inexpensive white plastic table and 4 chairs. I mean, not very big, like the size of a card table. You know, the real inexpensive, like white chairs and a little table. And 3 of the chairs are around the table and 1 is knocked over. And the caption says, Hurricane Enrique hits Florida. We will rebuild. Now, some people thought that was not in good taste. Others thought it was very humorous. I didn't. Let me tell you why. Number one, I have lived in Florida for a number of years. In 2004, my wife and I, we lived where Hurricane Charlie pretty much came through. So I understand the damage. I've been there. I've seen the devastation. I have been through hurricanes in my lifetime, and I understand and respect them. But what happened last week, or I should say really the week before, I didn't talk much about it last weekend because at the time I was recording the show, there was still such uncertainty on where this hurricane is going to go. But here's my issue, and maybe by telling you this, you'll follow it better. We heard TV reporters and the Weather Channel giving us all their prognostications and predictions. And I remember looking at all these cones of uncertainty on the TV set as this thing came across the Atlantic Ocean. And they're showing up, it's going to beeline, literally make a straight line to where I live in Vero Beach, Florida. We're being told it's going to be a Category 1 or maybe even a Category 2 hurricane, depending on how much strength it builds up. They were certain it was coming our way, and now's the time to prepare. But as the days went on and the reporters started coming into the state of Florida, down to Miami and Fort Myers and the Keys, the storm refused to cooperate with what the folks at the Weather Channel and other places said it was supposed to do. Now, I remember on Thursday of last week, I looked up on the internet what they call the various spaghetti models, where you see 20 or 30 different lines of which way the storm would go. And you realize that, there's a consensus with a few of them, but these are all based on the best models they can predict. In other words, their best guess. If this happened, if that happens, it could do this or that on the other. And during the course of a week, I watched how this storm tracked differently than the consensus. There was maybe one or two of those models that showed that it would stay to the south and come in at Hispaniola and fall apart, which is exactly what it did. This past weekend, the only thing I noticed about what was a hurricane, now a depression, and now just a big low-pressure system, was the amount of rain that fell at my house. Rain after rain after rain. Where I live, there's a small pond that's part of our community, and a lot of the drainage goes to that pond, and we actually had a catfish out in the road, and my neighbor actually had the courage to pick it up and put it back in the pond. But it was a lot of rain, but no wind. The media today has had a problem that started back in the late 1970s when Ted Turner first put on CNN, a 24-hour news channel. We went from the evening news, or news a couple of times a day, to a 24-hour cycle. And so they're always trying to have a new story, a new line, a new angle. And so when you have something like a hurricane and you're covering that thing 24/7, do you see the problem that I see that we have in our news today and why, it concerns me? They have to entertain, they have to inform, they have to keep the ratings up. And so quite often stories get hyped. And this was a classic case with that hurricane. It was too early to tell, though I believe and I understand, yes, you need to be prepared. Yes, you need to be ready. I get that. I truly understand that. But I have watched the hype on storms after storm after storm. Yes, take precautions. But they made predictions that simply did not come true. They used the best computer models, and they failed. And more often than not, what they say on Monday is not what it's going to be on Thursday or Friday. I'll take you back to 2004, when Hurricane Charlie came barreling through up the west coast of Florida. All the experts said this thing's going to turn in at Tampa Bay, and it's going to cause a storm surge and flooding and destruction, the likes we've never seen before. It's coming to Tampa. It's going to Tampa. I lived in Venice, Florida, about 45 miles south of Tampa. And the storm is coming up. I remember the morning it was coming up that direction. I happened to go out to the Gulf of Mexico to see how the waves were doing. I mean, it was still quite a ways away. It was in the early morning hours. And you could see the roughness of the sea, something you normally don't see on the very gentle Gulf of Mexico on the west coast of Florida. But there we saw ocean-sized waves coming in. You could see the erosion building up. And all the predictions, this storm is coming to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, get ready. Tampa Bay, this is it. You need to evacuate now. And what happened that afternoon? The storm made a sudden turn near Punta Gorda, Florida, in Port Charlotte, and came up a place called Deep Creek and worked its way inland. The storm went where it was not predicted to go and missed Tampa. I knew people from Tampa in that area that actually went to Orlando to escape the storm, and the storm went to Orlando and then exited around Daytona. We do the best we can to predict the weather, and they use the best computer modeling to this day to predict. Yet more times than not, the storm doesn't go where they claim it's going to go. I've seen storms that come near the coast and then they go in circles and then go another direction and never make landfall. Florida's gone 10 years without being hit by a hurricane. 10 years. We may go another 10 days or another 10 years. There are constantly going to be some low-pressure waves coming across the Atlantic Ocean. This time of the year in Florida, which is basically end of August till beginning of October, is normally the biggest potential time for us to have one. Am I going to worry about it? Am I going to dwell on it and have nightmares about it? No. All the things that mean anything to me, which is not all that much, is ready to go with me the day that I'm told I have to leave. Things like furniture, appliances, TV sets are all replaceable. Memories and life and family, those are not. These same people that try to predict the path of a hurricane using computer models, that use those models, are the same people that try to tell us how global warming is going to be 30, 40, and 50 years from now. The science we've seen, and I hate to get into this topic, but I will touch on it briefly. The truth is, the way we measure these rises in temperatures have changed. We've gone from having 6,000 monitoring stations to 1,500, and many of those near cities. So, of course, things could look a little different. The truth is, the same kind of computers we've been using to track hurricanes were telling us the temperature was going to rise steadily. It hasn't since 1997. There's really been no real true rise. And most of the warming we've seen in the last 150 years occurred before 1940. We put too much stock sometimes in the prognosticators. They're not prophets. It's an educated guess. To me, and the way I think, the way I believe, storms will come by in life. Whether it's a hurricane, whether it's something that happens in your family, these are the storms of life. And none of us are immune to the problems that can be caused by these storms of life. I've been through my share, and I'm sure there are a few of you out there that have been through yours. I remember specifically back in 2004. It was a strange time for me in 2004. My wife was seemed to be recuperating from cancer treatment, and we had a great time in July as she had the good news that she was doing well. When Hurricane Charlie hit, we had some damage where we lived at, and I had friends just south of us that had extensive damage, and we spent about 8-9 days going down and bringing water and supplies and helping repair homes. We were out there in that hot weather, day in and day out. And she felt so useful, helping, feeding, taking care of meals and food.